I'll show um, the website here is Canoe.io. I can put that link in here in the chat. And it's a community. It's not under the CNCF, but all the technologies use our CNCF, and it's a community of different companies. You can see here at the bottom, like Adobe, Cisco, AWS is one of the members, Salesforce, Intuit, to help the community and themselves like collaborate on building internal developer platforms. So let me switch to a couple of slides, and then we'll start doing some hands-on demos. How about that? Sounds good. Let me see. And I will put it here. Let me share my other screen. Do you see my screen? I don't have problems with sharing my browser.
Yes, okay. It's all fine. You have the Canoe, slides, right? Yeah.
The name is so yeah. We're going to record this. I'll be careful. Cloud native operational excellence is the term. Is Canoe? I pronounce it Canoe. So I don't know how you pronounce like the boat in like is a canoe. So in Spanish will be like canoa. So I can say canoa. If we're talking about multiple languages, I don't know. In Portuguese, how you would say it, or in Dutch, how would you say canoa, canoe?
I don't know about Dutch, but it will be Canoe in Turkish.
In Turkish?
Yeah.
I think in
Any
Portuguese,
other languages?
I think in Portuguese, I would just say each letter. So CNOE.
Boat probably would be something in Dutch as well, because many nautical words are coming from Dutch too, if you know what I mean. They have so many nautical words in there.
Yeah, I think they choose something nautical around Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
So Canoe. So that I pronounce Canoe when I hear people saying CNOE. I don't know what they're talking about. I have to teach my brain that they're talking about Canoe. So yeah, this is a project that I'm involved with some companies, but it's around internal developer platform. These are the practices that I do at work, for example, with multiple customers that use Kubernetes at scale. And the idea is that to illustrate what is an internal developer platform, and to show that at the bottom is kind of the compute platform, and typically that's going to be Kubernetes. And then if you are building a stack of capabilities. So as you can see here on purpose, there's no tools or projects, because these capabilities can be implemented with multiple technologies. So for example, observability, some people use Prometheus, some people use Datadog and such. And then the portal at the top, one that is very popular among the CNCF is Backstage. But there's IDPs that don't include some of these capabilities. Some IDPs don't have a portal, have other interfaces like a CLI or a REST API, or just a CRD, for example. That would be their interface. So it depends on what level you do that capability. But the idea is like all these companies or organizations building an IDP to educate their organization. So what is an IDP? Why is it needed? How do we get started? It's like basically like providing capabilities to the end users, and then working backwards of like what tools to use. So if you're going to choose a tool to implement a capability, and you go to the CNCF landscape, it's a massive number of tools, and there's end users companies that spend a lot of time just choosing like which tool to use. So Canoe is a open community collaborating between these members and the open community, like selecting which tools to use to implement an IDP and provide guidance and best practices in terms of like we're doing live streams, we're doing blog posts, we're doing some utilities that you're going to see today. So in terms of building a platform, there's different stages of that journey. Is like choosing the stack, which I said, like which tools do we use to implement that capability? Then how do I build it? So a lot of people are trying to look into like, do I build it with GitOps, right? If it's going to be everything about Kubernetes, then this stacks becomes GitOps components of building them. And then testing the stack is how do I, if I build an IDP, how can I quickly make a change and test it? And a lot of companies just start building an IDP or control plane, and then they don't want to touch it because they don't know how to test the end-to-end quickly. And then adoption is something that is a problem that comes up a lot because people don't want to change the way they do things, right? Because they don't know if this actually going to be faster the way they do the work. So the platform teams are trying to convince the developers to use what they built, but some platform teams don't involve the developer or the consumer until the end, and then the consumer and developer really don't adopt what they're building, don't adopt the stack, because they're likely no one wants to change. And then the other one is when you are running this at scale, right? You have an organization that has 10 developers, that's okay. You have an organization that have 100 developers. Well, some of these companies that are working in this have thousands of developers. It's mind blowing, right? So many developers working on different services on these companies. So at scale, you have to scale the services that you're building in the platform, and also like all these DevOps tools that you're building to scale them at that massive scale. So in terms of choosing the stack, these companies came together and build some technology radars for operations on applications. So a technology radar is usually something that goes around like, this is a tool that is good to adopt, and maybe this is a tool to experiment or assess. So they selected the tools that they use internally, share it, and some of them they started looking at that they're moving to a similar tool. So I give you one example. Some of these companies were using Spinnaker. Anyone familiar with Spinnaker? It was a tool that was, I think it was at the same time Chef and Puppet was available, or they started. And these companies have been using this on great scale and production. And they want to move to a more GitOps or Kubernetes tool. So like something like Argo CD or Tecton or Argo workflows. So all of them kind of like looking at the same tool to choose for the next platform. And they're building this platform, and they last for a while, like they last years. So they want to choose something that they can use for many years going forward. So they reduced the technology choices to a minimal set. So the idea is to not have like, for one capability, you can use anything that you want. They just want to select one or two tools to implement a technology, and then focus on that to see how do we scale it, how do we adopt it, how we build an IDP. So Canoe is kind of like building patterns and stacks that choose these technologies to help people accelerate building an IDP. So for example, you see here Argo CD and Flux. Those are kind of like the two tools.
I have one question here. I know you're on the flow. I'm sorry to
go ahead.
Yeah. So we know that Kubernetes has been around almost, now 10 years, and people have tried technologies. People tried to put stitch things together, failed, did some stuff, got to some maturity, but it's not quite mature. Now it's like, do you think IDP is there to solve this problem? And is this the thing Canoe is trying to address now? Because, it's not like people are at the beginning of their journey to pick solutions, right? It's just rare that you find companies that didn't touch any cloud native stuff yet. That's the bit I'm trying to understand here.
There's many companies that use VMs. You will be surprised how many people have not used Kubernetes, and they're just in the first year of trying Kubernetes for the first time.
Okay, then I haven't seen them.
Okay. Right. So that's the first one. The second one is some of these companies that I'll show in the moment have been using Kubernetes for a while, but they have not built the DevOps tools around Kubernetes. They just added like containers and Kubernetes and use whatever they were using when they were using
I'm trying to
VMs,
out,
right?
Like
Jenkins, for example.
Is the problem here, right? Like they have tried Kubernetes, they have workloads on Kubernetes, but not the connection between development and platform, I guess, right?
Yeah. Or for example, simple example, right? Companies have been using Kubernetes for the last 5 years, but when you ask them how efficient are you like deploying to Kubernetes, they say, well, we're using the same Jenkins jobs that we use in the VMs. We use them in Kubernetes, and they work. And they say, I guess no one have complained that it takes a week to deploy something, so I guess it's good. And then when they start looking at other companies, right, that they're deploying, it takes 20 minutes, an hour, or everything's automated, then they ask themselves, like, maybe we should choose a more Kubernetes native tool, DevOps tool, right? So that's where they start looking into guidance and doing POCs
Right.
and getting funding and approval to do a 3 months and a 6 months cycle of just, like we said, like choosing, because they're massive companies. Like, it takes 6 months to just select a tool. It is not a small company that says, oh, we're going to use OpenTelemetry now. Well, is OpenTelemetry the right tool, or should we keep the one that we're using for the last 5 years that we built internally, right?
Yeah.
So that's the guidance that we're giving in this project.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. In my past experience, if a company is that huge to actually just, have too many tools and start pulling things together from scratch, if they think, they failed somewhere or they want to just iron some wrinkles, they tend to try to build things on their own again, like from scratch. That's the bit I'm trying to figure out. Like, for example, Canoe, when I was in an IDP project, wasn't mature enough for us to put on the table yet, but it would be a great example. But I don't know if the company would say, "Oh no, we think we can build it ourselves. We have the people." So yeah, maybe it sounds like I'm rambling thoughts, but yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the right fit for this tool because it's quite helpful.
This is not a tool. That's what I'm trying to say. This is not a tool that you get and then you have an IDP. This is a tool to select of like maturity levels, right? So are you going to use Terraform? Should we use Terraform? How do I use it? And Terraform is the maturity thing, not Canoe. Like, Canoe is not giving you, it's just telling you to use Terraform and then give you guidance on how to use it.
You
right?
pick them, but it kind of isn't it sticking everything together at some level?
Yeah. I'll show you like stitching together to provide a template, for example, write templates from Backstage on how to deploy things. Right. But still, you own the templates. You have to adjust them to your need. There's nothing that you can pick up and then like, let's not invest on implementing something and let's just Canoe, right, to save time. Is to point out that these other companies are successfully using Backstage at scale and have a successful IDP. And then that I'll get to that second on building the stack. So this is and just utilities that this company have found that usefulness to share them outside the company. So this is an example of a tool of IDP Builder that we're going to see today. Is a CLI tool that basically is a very fast way of creating a kind cluster with an IDP stack of your choosing. You pick them and then using Argo CD to bootstrap them. So this was created by Autodesk. So Autodesk is a company that builds the AutoCAD and diagrams on desktop tools. So they use Kubernetes and they build this tool to have their developers and platform engineers quickly be able to test their changes into their IDP and then turn them down and then running it again. So they're using them in their testing environments. Actually, from Jenkins, they run IDP and then they test everything. So people have hybrid environments.
Sorry, just a question. You've mentioned the word IDP quite a lots of times. What is an IDP? I'm not too sure.
Oh, internal developer platform.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, and for short, we call them like that. From now, IDP means internal developer platform. So this is the tool. These are all all other patterns that some companies are using like this, for example, Crossplane patterns to build infrastructure resources. This is a GitOps bridge, a pattern that I use for some companies. So using Argo CD to deploy multi-clusters using matching infrastructure as code like Terraform or Crossplane with Argo CD. So this is another pattern of how to build an IDP on that. Testing the stack, like I said, the IDP Builder is a quick it's a very small CLI that then basically bootstraps your whole IDP, and then you can test your changes to see if they work or not. But it runs in any Linux computer, Windows computer. So it's a binary that is available, and it works on this type of IDE spaces. And adopting the stack, this is where I was saying about like how do you get developers to use the IDP that you're building, for example, with documentation, with office hours, with demos, or just getting them involved at the beginning of the IDP process. And these are like the ones that I show in the website. These are the companies that they're building IDPs at scale. And in the website, we have some live streams that they show demos all of their portal, and also demos on how they some have shown like their supply chain security CI/CD. Some of them have shown their Backstage implementation, and then others have shown the other aspects of and we'll do more live streams so we can share with the community how these companies are building an IDP using the technologies that are reflected in the Canoe website and to implement the capabilities, right? They're using the end of the day, they're using CNCF tools. This Canoe, this was another CI created in the project, and then this one helps to build Backstage templates. So the templates are a projection of the APIs that you have in your platform. So the platform basically creating Kubernetes CRDs. So what will be a quick way to get you started creating the template definition in Backstage from a CRD? This utility will scan your CRDs or definition of Terraform modules and get you started creating Backstage templates. So this is an example of like there was a lot of guidance on how to automatically generate or get you started create templates. So the Canoe team project, the different members created this CLI tool. In terms of scaling, so these are like not a tool, but is an activity that was done in a company. So for example, we did a scalability work of Argo CD. A lot of company was saying, if we use Argo CD, can we scale it to a large number of clusters? And then we did a second one inside with Adobe and Intuit. Intuit are the maintainers of Argo CD, and Adobe doing scalability work of around 500 clusters. And this is what I was saying about at scale. And then best practices. These companies come together of like sharing what are the best practices of using Backstage. They share those in the website and also there's a couple of plugins that they choose to use, and a lot of companies use for the guidance on using those Backstage. So that's it. Basically, it's a center for these companies to come together to either do an exercise like scaling or sharing best practices. There's some small utilities to get you started, but yeah, I think Sevi, we need to work on maybe the perception that people think that I would use Canoe to build an IDP at scale, right? And it's more of a guidance, best practices, some small CLIs to help platform teams to accelerate how they develop the platform. But it's up to you to use
impression.
Yeah. So it's up to the company, right, to say if they don't need the guidance of like already choose the tools, I just need them like how do I use them, or they're not working at scale, how do we scale it, or how do I put it together in a quick way in a CI/CD pipeline? Not the app, right? The platform. Then they get guidance here. So it's enough for accelerating a lot of companies to come together and say, instead of wasting time of like selecting tools or how to use them or scale them, they can come here and it's a way to share the knowledge.
You have a
But yeah,
question
it's
from Nuruddin, Carlos.
yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know if
You have a
he's
question?
he raised his hand, Nuruddin, but I don't know.
Can you
Oh,
hear
okay.
me?
You saw a hand. Okay,
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the chat. Go ahead.
Um. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a question regarding this Canoe because I see it as an interesting tool. However, from my understanding, looking at the fact that for Canoe we get to reduce the technology, don't you think that it is also creating a vendor lock-in? Because I think that is what everyone is trying to avoid by adopting cloud native projects. But with Canoe now, you have already limited people to what they can use. Like, okay, you can use Keycloak for AIM or AWS IAM, for example, or you can say you can use Terraform or Crossplane, or say for someone, a company does not use GitHub, maybe they use GitLab, for example, or other repositories. But I see that Canoe has probably limited you to the technologies. Or is it that in the future you plan to add possibilities for other technologies to it as well?
Yeah, so the Git, you can use whatever Git server you're using, but yeah, you're correct in the terms of reducing the choice. And it's not kind of vendor locking, maybe it's CNCF project project locking, right? Choosing but these are choosing, like, these are companies that are willing to just invest on a tool, right? They want to use one tool and move on. For if you want to use a different one, that's okay, but the project is like focusing on get maximizing the use of the tool that they selected. So for example, they use Argo CD and Flux, so they're doing the patterns and examples on that, giving you guidance of what they're using inside their company, right? So it's up to the members of, like, they choose a company, not choose a company, they choose a CNCF project to use that. In terms of authentication, Keycloak is there for people that don't know or don't have an OIDC or a login mechanism. Some companies already have it. So for example, they have Active Directory, or they use Okta or some other service, but it's open source, it's open connect. So it should work around that. I think that the list of, like, choosing technologies is reducing in a couple of areas, but not everywhere. Like, for example, infrastructural as code will be things like Kubernetes APIs that implement a infrastructure. That could be your own CRD, and these companies are creating their own CRDs, or Crossplane or ACK. And then for GitOps, those are the two projects that most people use, is Argo CD and Flux. There might be others, but I don't think that the project will start, like, advocating for a third GitOps yet, until they get enough collateral written and blog posts about Argo CD and Flux. So we're looking for Flux contributors, so people that know Flux to contribute, because we have some Argo CD patterns already. Like, for example, in the IDP Builder, and some Flux maintainers already reach out saying that they want to help for Flux. So that's how it moves. It's based on the community and people that want to contribute. But yeah, good question. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's show some of these utilities. Let me get. I think I need to get the link to. And yeah, I think we're almost done, but I'll get you started, and then you have some time. I don't think I have enough for everyone. Maybe I do. So let me get the link. I'll put this link in the chat, and if you open it, basically give you like an IDE. So the IDP Builder you can run it in your laptop, but I didn't want to make everyone run in the laptops. So if you open that link, you will get. Let me see where it is. You will get something like this. Let me open mine. You will get
Workshop.
you will get like to email a one-time password. Let me know if you get that. And then you need to select email one-time password OTP,
I'm
and then you
in
will get
to on the terms and conditions page.
yeah. you will do the email one-time password, and you got right away here in the terms and conditions, Evie?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I got the one-time password.
You got the OTP.
Yes,
The
I did
OTP
that,
password.
and yeah, after that I landed on the terms and conditions. So
Yep.
it's all good. And secure, don't worry.
Read them very quickly. Click agree and click
I just
join
agreed.
event. And then you should be able to see what I see here. A landing page like I'll show you in a second, like something like this. People got as far as this.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if you click on the left side, I don't know if you see my mouse or not. Maybe I should let me see. I have like a tool. I haven't used it in a while.
We can see your mouse.
Oh, you can see my mouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see now? No, I don't think so, right?
Yes, we do.
No, we can.
Yeah. So if you're clicking here, account access, you will access the AWS console. But we're not going to. I think there's a step that you will need to access S3. But other than that, yeah, this is pretty generic. Is CNCF open source tool. But if you return here, you'll be able to open an IDE. So at the bottom, copy the IDE password. So if you click here, you will copy it. And then you can click this link that will open an IDE. Let me know if...
Is it Cloud Shell? No.
It's a Visual Studio Code.
You should see something like a VS Code IDE.
Yeah, I'm in.
And I think if it should open like this, and if you didn't do menu, terminal, new terminal, you should get a new terminal at the bottom.
Okay.
You see that? And I think to be able to work with this, you need to have, let me close this and move you folks to the other thing. Oh no, wait. Yeah, I'll move it down here. Let me share my screen because I think for you will need to two browser windows open side by side to have the instructions and then to be able to do the exercises. So let me do this. Let me share my screen to see if it works the same way. When you have a small laptop, is kind of difficult, right, to follow the instructions, but you may need to have two tabs. So let me share my screen here. You see my two browser windows?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do something like this, or you have two tabs, then you can go back and forth. But these are the two things that you're going to work with. And then to follow the instructions, you will follow the instructions. We already did this. And it will be this. The first one will be using the IDP Builder that I show. Is everybody able to get to this page?
Yes.
Make this one bigger here. And then, yeah, it gives you the instructions to open a new terminal. And then the first command is we're going to launch the IDP Builder in the stack folder. So you have to move to the CD into the stack folder. So you can click this button saying copy, then paste it here. And if you get a pop-up like this one, just say allow. This allows you to copy paste things into your browser. So you should be in this directory here to work from.
So it's also using a Quen cluster.
And then the next command is you can paste it. And basically this is the IDP Builder is a Yeah, so it's creating a kind cluster.
Okay, cool.
And this is CLI. This CLI you can run in your laptop, right? It's intended to run in your laptop. We're running it here because of like it's faster just to do it in terms of like a demo type of thing or a workshop. So this will run the IDE. This
It
will
will
install.
create.
It will create a kind cluster and install all these things in here. If you get the pop-up, you can close it until it finish. And basically, it deploys a stack. So the base stack that is creating. We didn't pass that much parameters, just IDP create, right?
Can you
And then
choose?
just go ahead.
Can you choose which, for example, ingress you install or which CD tool to install? For example, you want
CD2.
Flux and Istio.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the contribution that we want someone to contribute. We talked to Scott the other day that he's an Helm maintainer and Flux maintainer. He said that he wanted to contribute that. We started. So if you want to help with that, that'll be the next thing that we want to add Flux in there. So yeah, this is something like very quick to get you a stack up and running. Ingress is because we're running inside. We're running Git. This is also another value add of the tool. It's running Git T. And this thing works better if you run it in your laptop because it's localhost. It runs better out of the box. So when it's done, you can check if everything's running. You can paste the command in here, and then it's a couple of things that it does. It does Argo CD, Git T, and basically an Nginx server to just route to Git T and Argo CD. So you can see the stack is also deployed with Argo CD. So you can paste in here. Let me close something that is popping up here. You can see here that is put it in my screen. Can you see my screen, what I'm doing, or is it too small?
Yeah, we can see it.
I have the terminal. Yeah.
And then it's folks, if you were able to get in. So it deploy Argo CD, Git T, and Nginx. That's the kind of like core components. And like you said, Safe, we're looking for people that know Flux to see if they can contribute, like to choose the --CD, for example, and then Flux versus Argo CD, and it should work out of the box. But right now, Argo CD is kind of the component packaging mechanism. Then the next thing that you can do is get the secrets. So we'll get the secrets. And then it will give you the secrets to Argo CD and Git T. Git T is very small Git server, lightweight. And again, this is only for like running something like in kind cluster. You'll be using like your GitHub or Bitbucket when you're running like that. You can get the URLs. In this case, we're going to get them like this because we're running on the cloud. But if you're running your local computer, it will be like canoe.local.me, something localhost, and get it.
Which you need to add to your etc host file to work.
Oh, no, you don't have to add to the etc host. It works out of the box.
Okay.
Even because we use a domain name that always gives you back 127.0.0.1. So I'm okay explaining this because we are just all a bunch of nerds and we know what that means, right? So we don't have to change Etsy. That's
It's
something
like a loop back to itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you open this URL in a tab, it should work.
I'm in Argo. Nice.
Let me close the others and then open this here. And it didn't work for me. I pasted the wrong thing. So let me paste that again.
Just there's it actually has a link. You can just click.
Just click.
Yeah.
You can command and click, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then command click. So yeah, Git T, that's out of the box. So as you can see, like one thing that I'll mention, I personally use this setup because I do a lot of GitOps stuff. and I don't like to create a GitHub repo every time that I want to like test something or quick or change a YAML file. I want to test it first locally in my computer to then like put it into the real thing. So let me log in here with admin. So if you can log in, I think that's what the instructions said, but it's very intuitive, right? So I'm in, I have 3 Argo apps. I can log in into the Git server. I think this is the password. There's also a token, but I think the password is the one that you need to use. Log in with, I think it's Git the admin, and then the password. So it's a quick way to just get a GitOps configuration up and running, and it's declarative. Also, you can override some of this configuration. Yeah, those are the instructions to log in, and then you have like an IDP builder. But the next thing, let's do the next thing. The next thing is if I want to deploy a package. So think about a package is like a component or a package to your IDP. And a package is defined in this case as an Argo app. So if we run this command, we can see the files that we have here, right? Also, if you open, I can make this a little bit bigger. If you open the stacks, you will see like basic and package one. So those are the files that are there. If you open the app.yaml, you will see that this package is defined as a package. So it's an Argo CD application that, let me explain, that the repo URL, this is a kind of like a little bit of the magic. So basically this Argo app, instead of pointing to a regular Git server, is pointing to this Canoe // So basically what this is saying is create me a Git repo, and take the files that are sitting in the folder manifest, which you can see here, and put them in a in the Git server, and also then deploy this and then change this for the GitLab. So basically you are deploying with declarative a package. So let's run it and you will see. So if we run create again, you can run create multiple times. It's basically a Kubernetes controller that it will reconcile. So if you run it again, it will run like the Kubernetes controller, and we'll see that there's a new thing to be deployed, and it will deploy it. So if we run this command,
does it have plan?
Go ahead.
Does it have a plan? Does it have a plan?
What is the plan?
Like dry run.
Argo CD doesn't have plan. Like Argo CD doesn't work like that.
One thing now it
triggers... a plan will be something. Sorry, a plan will be something for Terraform, for example.
Terraform, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know even if Crossplane has it. No, I mean, we discussed this, and Victor said they had massive conversations, discussions about the plan thing in a Crossplane, right?
Yeah. So the plan will be you open a GitHub PR pull request, and that's your plan. You review it, you test it there. And when you activate it, then you activate it, right? It goes. But yeah, this is the plan. The plan is to deploy this, and that's the plan. And this is the plan. This is the file that you're going to deploy. So we're going to deploy a pod. Oh, already finished. So that was quick, right? And if we go to Argo CD, you should see a new app. It's called My App. If you click on it, we have a pod. So we made it as like the demo is very simple, right? We didn't even create a deployment. He created a pod, but as you can see, like for people that don't know GitOps or Argo CD, this could be like the first step to learning this stuff of deploying it. But as you can see, if you go to details, you will see that now the repo URL, the one that says Canoe manifest, it got replaced. Like the CLI just replaced it, right? It did the work and replaced this with that. So if you go to Git and the Explorer, we should see a repo created. And then you should see the alpine.yaml here, the files that were in the manifest file. So I didn't have to create a repo, git init, git add, need to remember. Git commit, git push, right? I save 5 steps that I usually do in my command line by just running this. So the next step is, and then, that's what I'm showing here. This is the Alpine that we deploy. Then the next thing is if I cut the file, right? You will see here that this is the pod that we deployed. And now if we, let me see, we cut the file and then we run the package again. Okay, so we're going to run the package again, the same command, but notice that we're going to run with no exit. So no exit is kind of like a watch. So I'm going to run it, and then if we need to, stop it, we'll do Control C. So I saved those 5 steps. So now, if I open a new terminal, let me open a new terminal. So in here, the way you can open a new terminal is clicking this plus sign. We should tell people how to do that. That's feedback for the workshop. So open a new terminal. So my other one is just running. So what IDP Builder is just running on the background, just looking at this folder, right? Package 1, and just looking to see if I make a change, it would automatically detect it and then push the files into Git. So that way I don't even have to like do the 5 steps or run the command again. So you can run it in watch mode. So let's do that. So if we do this set command, like modify the file. So we're going to modify the file, run this command in the other terminal. I just changed the file. So now you can see here, I just changed the file. We do the cat again, and basically there's the label, right? ABC IDP Builder. So I just changed the label from one to another one, and then I can actually see when the change happens, which is like it takes a minute. So it should change from ABC DED, for example. It would change to ABC IDP Builder. So it did the change to. It also tells you to go into the GitLab, Gitty, and you can refresh here, right? It just changed from A to ABC IDP Builder. If we go to the terminal, now you can see that is ABC IDP Builder. So the tool just watches the folder, and this is something for a YAML engineer. Who is a YAML engineer in this room? Who passed the YAML certification? So for anyone that is a YAML engineer and is like editing YAML files, then you
for
just
YAML engineers, you need to really wear glasses to
yes. So as you change, right? As you change a pod.yaml, a deployment.yaml, Helm chart YAML, right? Values.yaml, a customized YAML file, you just keep editing your YAML files and automatically starts pushing to Git, and Argo CD will pick up the change, right? So that's the workflow for a platform engineer that is building an IDP based on Kubernetes, based on GitOps.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we change Gitty by a real GitHub or GitLab endpoint?
Yeah. So this YAML here. So this YAML, the application.yaml, you can point to. I'll show you an example. So the next example is using GitHub. I think it's GitHub, right? So let's use GitHub. So the next example is, and this is something that I need to remember. If you go back to IDP Builder, do Control C to stop it, and then run it again. But notice that I'm going to deploy this package that is here, but I want to deploy a package that now is located remotely in GitHub. If you were asking about like if you want to change this for your GitLab or your GitHub,
like that, like that.
You can put it here, but IDP Builder would just ignore it. Like it would just, the app will get deployed and everything like that, but IDP Builder would not be able to log into your GitLab and then create a repo. So that feature maybe in the future, that's a good idea, but right now it doesn't do it. So, but it will act as a normal Argo app, basically.
So just a question. So this IDP Builder, the main goal is mainly to allow you to play around with the tools and discover, right?
Well, it's used in testing,
Ah, okay.
right? So
I
you
see.
put IDP Builder in your GitHub action, and
Mhm.
then your team changes a YAML file from Keycloak or from external secret operator or the machine learning app that you're using or Crossplane.
Mhm.
Then you will deploy the whole stack with IDP Builder, and then have your testing check that the change did what it was supposed to do, didn't break anything, and then your PR will go green, right? So that's one way of using it.
Okay, I see.
So it's a quick way of like, you can do it yourself, right? But the IDP Builder becomes kind of a package to do it. So
Mhm.
on this one, it's a like putting packages together, right? So because you're building an IDP and you have a lot of packages, so some of them will be local, some of them will be remote, because it's like dependencies. It's not your package; it's a package for another team or an open source project. So you can run it again, and then you will see that now this thing will have another Argo app deploy. So now you have Guestbook, and Guestbook is the Argo CD Hello World that got deployed from a remote location. So if you go to details, you will see that we have Guestbook 2, and the repo URL is this one, for example, right? So it pointed to an app located into uh, the Argo organization, for example. This is like where we put all the examples from Argo. So at least it gave you the ability to deploy a remote package. Next. And then the second, this is the first part of the workshop. You just like learning the tool, and then this one is building, running IDP Builder, run Backstage, right? And now we're going to deploy an S3 bucket and a Spark job. You have a question, Sabi?
Yeah, but it could be a bit premature. There is nothing much in there, right? Okay. Anything I put in here will, as an example, for example, external secrets operator will be all watched by Argo, right? This is the default structure we want to build. Any add-ons for the cluster, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it becomes an Argo app.
Yeah.
So nice that you say that, because the reference implementation is going to install Backstage, external secret operator, Argo workflows, Argo CD, Keycloak, Spark, all these things becomes an IDP. So like say you were asking, like, if people don't know how to stitch them together with GitOps, because the thing is a lot of people deploy this with kubectl apply.
Yeah,
But you want to
I
deploy with
wasn't
GitOps.
sure, how many add-ons you already had in the GitHub repository. So that's what I was checking out. But yeah, it's great that you answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, we have different stacks. We have last week Kyverno added a stack. So there's a stack repo. Actually, we need to point to it. It's in the Canoe organization. Let me find it here. Under the Canoe organization that we're going to see this demo, we're running the reference implementation, but in the stacks, this is the one that we're going to run the reference implementation. But as you can see here, there's one that shows you how to do backups in Valero, Kyverno, how to do Jupyter Hub as a service, how to do Dapper, how to do Crossplane, how to do Terraform inside the cluster. So that's a lot of examples on stacks. But going back to here, maybe we'll take 15 minutes for this text section. I know we are over time, but I think we have 12 hours to play with this environment. But if you run this command, on top of it, now we are pointing to a different folder, right? So now I want to deploy this package called the reference implementation. And then this one is kind of a little bit heavy. Go ahead, Sevi.
Yeah, that's when we do it. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So this one, it takes a little bit more than it says 1 minute. I think it might take 3 minutes. If you get the pop-up, please ignore it because this is like in the cloud. In your computer, you will get like localhost. And then you can run this command in here. after it's done, because it's going to continue. Like Argo CD is like eventual consistency, right, of all these Argo apps being deployed, and eventually everything will go to a desired state. And we use external secret operator in a nifty way that we copy secrets from one namespace to another namespace. For example, Backstage needs the secret to Git to Git, but that secret is located in the Git namespace. So external secret operator is nifty. I didn't know this until the other day when I started working on the project. And you can create an external secret operator resource that says copy this secret becomes the source of secrets, and then you deploy them to another namespace like Backstage. And that's a way that you can like always keep in sync the secrets from one namespace to another if there's dependencies. So you don't have to deploy them twice, for example. And then you can see a few errors here. You can ignore it because basically the IDP is a Kubernetes controller written in Go. So it's just reconciling to the desired state, right? It's trying and checking into the desired state. Everything is deployed through GitLab.
I have a question, Carlos, please. In fact, two. Can we onboard an existing application to Canoe, like to make it like manage it through Canoe in the future? Something that exists already installed?
You want to do what?
Like for, I don't know, like Prometheus, which is already installed with Helm, then you want to onboard it to Canoe to be managed by Canoe in the future. In the existing
It will
class.
be managed by Argo, actually.
It's Argo CD. Canoe is not Canoe is just deploying Argo apps, so it's up to Argo CD. Canoe is not managing anything. Is Argo CD the one that is managing something? But yeah,
So
if you have something existing, you will put it in production into your stack. But if you want to like make it part of the CI/CD test to deploy and destroy, that's what this little utility is for, right? To create and destroy. In your IDP in production, you would just have Prometheus running and then have links in Backstage, for example, that link into that Grafana app. That's what some companies do with that. I see some couple errors that I concerned that we may have a bug, but I'm not sure. Let's see if everything's running. So again, this is a workshop that is in it's degraded, it's missing. So we may have a bug. I saw something that is a bug. Oh, it logged me out. Yeah, it logged me out because now it's a different one. But all the apps should be to the point that they're deployed. But we can log in back like in here. You can run IDP Builder get secrets, and you will get more. Again, this may not work here, but in your laptop should work out of the box.
Why would Argo CD admin password change?
Let me think about it. That's a good question.
Yeah, because it's the initial secret that actually is deployed with the first in Argo.
Yeah, you're correct. I don't know why it locked me out. It's the same.
Yeah, I have the same problem. Then I checked the secret and it was changed. So
I see.
Yeah. So
it may be something with the Cloud ID in your desktop. It never does that. So it might be something with the proxies that we have in the Cloud ID.
But now I have extra secrets for Keycloak, which is cool.
Yep. You get more secrets for Keycloak.
Postgres, the DB secrets as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because Keycloak depends on Postgres, so Postgres also gets deployed. I think I had a command that it lists all the apps being deployed.
I now have the external secrets, Backstage, Keycloak, Helm, Metric Server, Nginx, all in Argo CD. But just was curious about the Argo implementation. Might want to. I'm gonna check the repository maybe. Oh, Can I see it? I can see it in Git, right? Yeah.
So yeah, if you run get pods -a, which is one of my first commands, all right, you can see all the pods that are being deployed. So you can see like Argo server, which is Argo. So this is the reason that is, I think a new version of Argo CD got deployed or something with a different configuration. That could be it.
Yeah, there's a new namespace. See, one is Argo CD, the other one is Argo.
Yeah. So Argo is Argo workflow. Oh no, so Argo is Argo workflows.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Argo CD
That
is in Argo CD.
Yeah, that wasn't there in the initial one. Yeah.
Yeah. Backstage has Backstage app and a Postgres database. Oh, that's correct. Keycloak doesn't have. Oh, Keycloak has a Postgres database, right? So right.
Yeah, it does.
Keycloak has a Postgres database. Our Nginx is there. That was there before, and then external secrets is there, and then a Spark operator is there. So, yeah, I think it's done. So, what it took. It doesn't take 1 minute. Oh, 1 minute, I think, to
completed. Yeah, I can show mine if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to update this to have a command that just watches when everything's done. But I'll add that later. And then I think it's the same Argo CD app. So I don't think this is if you lost the URL, but it's the same Argo app. So you should have more tiles in this one, right? So if you do, Argo CD, you can give me all the tiles. So you can see the Spark operator is deployed, Keycloak is deployed, Backstage is deployed, everything's deployed, like you can see here. And then for Backstage, you can get the URL like this. So run that command, and I don't know what this become smaller, and then open it, and then you get prompted with Keycloak sign in. Where you click in, and then to log in, use the user1. So you type user1, and then the password is user password that is in that get secrets that we saw. Where's the get secrets? I can run it again. If you get the secrets, is user password, so you can log in with that, and my pop-up just disappears. So I'll put it here. So this is a Backstage. You never run Backstage before. It's a web app that implements an internal developer portal, for example. It's a CNCF project. And this is, we put kind of like the logo of Canoe, but other than that, it has some plugins from the open source community that are installed, but it's pretty much vanilla to be customized. So if we want to deploy a simple application, you can click on create, which is the workflow in Backstage. And these are the typical entry points, templates that your platform engineer team would do for the developers, right? So in this case, I'll create a basic deployment, call it demo, click review, click create. And then basically this is a Backstage template that provisions a new Git repo, templatize some initial files, which in our case is in an Argo CD app. And then you can open the catalog. In Backstage, the catalog is where like all the entities are located. So this is our app that got deployed. And if you look at the right, you can see that there's a plugin to get status, a plugin for Backstage that talks to Argo CD. So we can get some status about Argo CD for this app. And if you click on it, it opens more information about the app. Where's the repo URL? What's the folder? Like information about the Argo app. And then you can click in here and go directly to the app that deploy our application and the prod is running. So that's basically what happened. Like from Backstage, a Git T. So if we look in the Explorer, here's the demo. It created a Git repo, this one. It registered it in Argo CD. And then Argo CD pulls from Git the configuration YAML files, and it deploys a deployment. So that's kind of like the most basic template to deploy Hello World from Backstage using Git and using Argo CD. And some organizations are trying to get there. I'm moving from maybe something else that they use for deploying apps that maybe they don't use GitOps. I think that makes sense. Did everybody was able to get there? Sevi, you were able to get this far?
I did. I just I'm in Backstage right now trying to find that page you had.
Oh, so you can go to home.
Oh yeah.
You can go to home, and since we only have one thing, you see here, but some of these mega companies using Backstage, you will see thousands of components here for all the services and like thousands of developers, right? So they can find the app that they work with, and then from here they can see information around where's, like Saif was saying, like where's the Grafana thing, where's the Kubernetes information, where's the APIs for this app, where are the docs for this app. So it becomes like a single pane of glass for the developer, right, to find the stuff that he's working on versus the other things. And also relationship, right? If you're building an API that depends on another API.
Especially dashboard, if you have like hundreds of microservices, if you attach your dashboard to this, you don't have to go to Grafana and try to build your query to find metrics or the dashboard.
Yeah, there's Backstage is a open source project and has hundreds of plugins and integrations. It's written in TypeScript, CSS, React.js, right? It uses React.js. So it's a way to create plugins, backends, and such. The other example is around Crossplane. And Crossplane is a way of having a YAML file in Kubernetes that creates for example, most of the time it's created. I think if you were here for Victor's sessions, he talked about Crossplane, the Crossplane book. So it's basically to create, in this case, you want to create an object store, an S3 bucket. So you can start from a simple YAML file. So in this case, to do this one, you will go into this folder. We need to improve to edit this file, but you will go to this folder and go to Crossplane integrations, Crossplane providers, and edit the provider config in here. And this provider config, you can hardcode a credential. Like if you run it in your laptop, you will create the credentials to your cloud account and then put in which secret is located. But in our case, since this is running on the cloud already, you have to change it to look like this, provide like credentials, sources injected. So you can copy the whole thing and then replace it here. So it basically says, I'm already, this VM that this thing is running is already authenticated in my cloud account. And now Crossplane has access to create the S3 bucket. So if you, by assuming the AI role, for example. So if you replace it and save it, then you can run IDP Builder create again. And then you add a package, which is Crossplane integration with this new configuration. So you can run it again in here, not there, down in the terminal. And again, like IDP Builder is just deploying packages, and this integration, guess what it is? It is a Argo CD. Everything becomes an Argo CD. So you're basically deploying Argo CD as a stack, right? And you're stacking up all these packages or components, but we want to call them packages because if we have Flux, right, we can have a flavor of a Flux package and a flavor of an Argo CD package that you deploy. But right now it's Argo CD, but we're calling it a package. And then when it's done, then we'll be able to use the template for add a Go app with a AWS resource. So we deploy a deployment plus an S3 bucket. So let's see if that finished. And I think that will be the end. You can do the Spark on your own. I don't want to take a lot of your time if you need to leave, right? Some software already left. Is everybody good to finish this part?
Yeah, let's call it a day. And we will still have time to use this, but
Yeah, you have 12 hours to finish.
Yeah.
So for the Crossplane, it's the same concept of select an app with AWS resource, click choose, call this one, I don't know, we call it app with -s3, like the sample. Click next, and then in here you can select which the region is, and in our case you need to put US-west 2. The instructions say to put that in there. You can see here, click review, and then create. And then this will be the same thing, but in this case it's going to deploy a Go application deployment with an S3 bucket. So when it's done, the same concept. Go to your app. Your app is in Argo CD. If you click on it, you will see the app being deployed. And if you go to your S3 dashboard, for example, that is a link here, you should see your S3 bucket. Let me see buckets here. And now our bucket just got created a second ago. So these are buckets that got created through a simple YAML file. Did I show the YAML file? We can see the YAML file in Git T, right? So if we go back to admins, we can see that the customize has a S3 and S3 there. So this is an object storage S3 in this region, and this is the YAML file. That is a Crossplane composition that will deploy your S3 bucket. So yeah, so that's basically and that now in Backstage you have 2 apps, right, that you deploy, and you can deploy the third one, which is a Spark job using Argo workflows. Any questions? And again, this IDP Builder is something that you run in your laptop or like in GitHub Actions or on a VM. So it's a very light way of like it's running a kind cluster. So you have to watch out how much memory you have in your computer, but you should be able to run this stack for the most part.
And also, there's a possibility that if we just use the kind cluster to initiate the actual cluster, is this possible with this setup now? Do you remember the Purism conversation we had? Some folks initialize their first ever clusters that installs everything with kind. It just made me remember of the setup.
Cluster API.
Yeah, so you have the option of like instead of deploying S3, this I have other templates that do this. Instead of having this thing, I have done demos with this stack that say like instead of deploying a Go app with an S3 bucket, right? I can say deploy me 3 EKS clusters.
Yeah.
And it deploys 3 EKS from your IDP, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, that will be a template maybe for the platform team, because you don't want to give developers their own EKS cluster, like, because then the point is like you just gave me a way to buy myself more work. Now I have to manage EKS clusters. I'm just a developer. I don't know what to do with these EKS clusters, right?
So the audience for Canoe is software developers, you're saying?
For the most part, organizations are building this for software developers.
Yeah. Okay.
To abstract them from whatever APIs or cloud even.
Okay. My brain might be fried at this time of the day, so I'm just gonna.
But again, this is a dashboard. It's a web app. Yeah. But the main goal, I think, is the developers that they target, right? That they have 5,000 developers, so they want to give them a dashboard that they can build. They can onboard an app, and then from that point on, I can always go to this same place for my app to find all the things that I need about my app. And what Saif said, right? This is a web app, so maybe Adobe have done a live stream that they show, and you can get some DORA metrics for this app, like how often are you deploying, how often are you doing pull requests, how often you're getting issues, right? The DevOps DORA metrics. So there's plugins for a lot of things in Backstage.
Cool.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank
I know we
you.
went
Yeah,
a little bit over time, but yeah, you have access to these environments, and hope you learn something a little bit about Backstage and Argo CD kind of thing.
How do we take it down, Carlos? Who's paying for this? I just don't want to.
Oh, it auto destroys. It auto destroys
Okay,
in 12 hours. So yeah, you can access the ID again. You can run. You can close this, and if you open it, it opens back again in your terminal. If you want to do the last exercise.
I'll clone it locally first to not lose it.
Yeah, there's nothing to clone. As you saw, it's using the stacks repo, for example. These stacks that you can play with.
Never mind that.
Yeah. If you go to the reference implementation, you can see in the README it's the same commands. You run this command. This is the URL I was telling you, Saif. Canoe.localtest.me translate to 127.0.0.1, and we already hook it up to kind. So you just go. Basically, this is like if you're running in your laptop, then use this one. I can send the link in the chat, and I'll put it in the docs also. So it's just I didn't want to have everyone like install this CLI in your laptop and then go through these exercises. It's easier to give you an environment, right, to follow along.
Thank you, Carlos, for your time.
Yep, no problem. And next week we'll start a new book with Mark. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for the great session. Cheers, everybody.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.